it is not too late to make goals. It is not too late to create new rhythms. So just as we're getting into the end of this first week of the year, I do not want you to think, oh, I missed it. I didn't start on the first. That is not the mindset we're going to have. We're not going to have a limiting mindset this year. We're going to look ahead and we're going to be really gracious on ourselves this year. Welcome to the Moxie Podcast. This is the first podcast of 2024, and I am delighted that you are a part of this community. One of my goals for this year is to continue to stay consistent for you, but to have themes that, as this community has grown, you all can really relate to, and be encouraged by. So when Moxie first started, it started to share courageous stories by ordinary people. It started because I wanted to create community within Mombasa, Kenya, where I'm at and reside, and this is home. And I wanted to learn all that was happening in entrepreneurial lives here in Mombasa. The beauty of this is that I got to bring people into my office. So if you go to season 1, oh my goodness, what a courageous season that was for me anyways, because bringing people into my office, being able to share space that, 1, was really hot because it's Mombasa. 2, you could hear the neighbors. 3, the sound quality is the worst. But I'm telling you, the conversations were still so fruitful and so beautiful. And right after that, I then moved into a more virtual over, at that time, Skype, if you can believe it, type of interaction, which was perfect because I started traveling. Then, as we all know, we don't like to talk about it, but the big P, the pandemic happened, and here we are. Technology has adapted. We are continuing to connect with one another over these types of spaces. And I am just so excited that you're still with me. So if you've been here since season 1 from the very beginning, welcome back, my veterans, to the Moxie Podcast. And if you are just joining for the first time, my name is Jenny Nuccio. I'm the host here at Moxie. And again, it is my heartbeat and my desire to see you grow. Whether you are a mother, an entrepreneur, a wife, a husband, you are a mix of those things, whoever, whatever, wherever walk of life you're in, this should be for you. And so I'm going to go over a couple of themes that are happening this year, just to give you an overview of what we have going on. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about 2023 and moving into this year of 2024. First off, 2023 was one of my hardest years as a leader. And as we get into 2024 and there's a little less closeness to the year, I'm going to start sharing those lessons with you, because there was a lot that we endured as an organization and as a team. But as a leader, there's a lot of things that I learned that I would love to then pass on to you. One thing, if you are new to this podcast, if you are new with even hearing my voice, I am an open book. It is always my desire to share, to give resources, to be an educator in all spaces that I step into. There is no trade secrets that I'm going to be sharing. I always love to just put it on the table, because collaboration and community is the key to continue to grow and to have successful businesses and livelihoods, partnerships and relationships. And that is always what I want this community to encompass, is that community as a whole. So the overview for next year. Today, we are talking about ins and outs, which awesome. Glad you're here. I hope that you had time to kind of set values, set new rhythms into the year. I don't really like using the word resolution, because once we resolve something that ends, right, there's a cutoff. But with rhythms, when we add new rhythms in our life, these are things that we continue to push forth in. And so I hope you've added new rhythms in your life. And guess what? If you haven't, it is still the first week of the year. So this is so important for you to know that it doesn't have to be the beginning of the year. It doesn't have to be the beginning of a month. You can change your mindset, the way that you live, within seconds. And so we have the power of choice to do that. And I hope throughout this year that you get to get some tools in your toolkit, in your back pocket, to be able to move forward in a really beautiful way. So today I'm going to talk about ins and outs for me personally, just what I learned and what I grew from. The rest of this month, we're going to be talking about the frameworks of the School of Ethical Impact. If you're like, Jenny, what is the School of Ethical Impact? Hello, I am the founder of many, many brands, many, many companies, and that most of my companies have now dissolved under one brand, Imani Collective. You can go to imanicollective.com to check that out. We'll also have that in the show notes. But most everything that I run is under there. And one is the School of Ethical Impact. It was co-founded with me and a friend back in 2021. And we built out these really beautiful frameworks of what it means to create sustainability, not just in your business, not just in the organization you run, but also in your life and for yourself. I love talking about sustainability as self because that's so important to who we are. And that if we're not caring for ourselves, it's going to be really hard to care for others, right? So throughout the month of January, we're going to be talking through some of these frameworks. That includes the 5 P's of sustainability as a framework, the RISE leadership framework. We're going to talk about our spheres of influence, and we're going to talk about this ethical impact mindset. What does that mean? So that's what you're going to be expecting for January. As we move into February, we're going to be talking about conscious collaboration. One thing that is happening in March 1st through 3rd, is we are having our 2nd annual Conscious Collab Weekend, which is going to be held in San Antonio, Texas, in collaboration with Babes Supporting Babes. I am so excited because this is going to be a free event this year. I do not want money to be a deterrent to be able to walk through those doors. So I welcome all of you to be there. Again, March 1st through 3rd is Conscious Collab Weekend. So leading up to that weekend, we're going to be talking about all about conscious collaboration. March is probably going to be by far one of my favorite months here at the Moxie podcast. We're going to be talking about mindset. Again, you have the choice to switch your mindset at any moment, at any time. And mindset is so important. Again, I think there's pivotal or like key inflection points of the year that we think, oh, this is the time. These are the things that I'm going to resolve, right? Using that word resolution. And normally that happens at the end of the year. Maybe it happens on a birthday, maybe the beginning of a month. But the reality is you can do that right now. If you start with a crappy morning, you can change that in seconds. All it takes is repetitiveness and consistency, and also the will, right? The will to want to do that. So we're going to be going over mindset. And one thing that I am thrilled about this year, if you've been with the Moxie community for a bit, is most of all of last year in 2023, I did solo podcasting, which is beautiful. I think for you guys who stuck around, thank you. You made me feel all the feels that you got to hear this voice constantly in your earbuds. But I cannot wait to bring experts back onto the podcast because they bring so much light and such a different perspective. And one thing with mindset shifts is that you should always gain and bring in different perspective. And so I want to do that for you guys. We want to continue to not only grow in this community, but learn from others and give you guys resources from other people as well. So that's the perfect example of collaboration, right? So we're going to be doing that and talking about conscious collaboration, talking about mindset. We're going to move into rhythms and entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of different things and topics we have throughout the year. We also, in the summer months, June and July, we're going to talk about social impact gone wrong. I love that topic, not the gone wrong part, but I love about social impact, ethical impact. How do we add it into not just our business, but our life? How do we take those steps? But there are some, I don't want to say beautiful, that's the wrong word. There are some pretty good case studies out there of people who are greenwashing or using that terminology and actually are doing other things, right? And so I want to kind of teach you guys on that. So again, if you're joining Moxie Podcast for the first time, or again, you're continuing in this community, you're going to hear a lot about mindset, rhythms, entrepreneurship. How do you make a better version of you? How do we continue to build ourselves up in our spiritual and our mental and our physical health? And we're going to talk a lot about how do we do good in this world, because I believe everybody is made to be a change maker. You just need a little maybe push, a little bit of gumption to keep pushing into that. I learned that word the other day in some interview I was doing with my good friend Kate. You'll get to hear from her in March, and her word is gumption, and I loved it. So how do we have that little oomph to move into the year? And it really takes a community. And so I hope this can be a community for you. And I also hope that there's other outlets, or we can share other outlets of community as well as we move into the year. So that is a way too long of intro what we're expecting this year, but let's talk about the ins and outs for me personally. And I hope some of these can resonate with you. I hope that you've been thinking through some of this as you as we've ended the year, right? And we're starting a new year. I think a new year can be a little bit intimidating, right? It's like we just went through 12 months. We just went through 365 days, or this year is 366. We're on a leap year. We just went through all of this and all these emotions. And some of us had really great years. Maybe some of us had not so good of years. I know us entrepreneurs out there, 2023 was a tough one. So if you're here, you're surviving, you're pivoting, I welcome you with a big virtual hug, because I can feel all the feels in that. Totally can relate. But one thing as I moved into 2024 that I wanted to do, that I think a lot of us are not that great at, is to reflect. Ooh, let's take a deep breath there. Is to reflect, because we look back and we continue to look. I mean, we don't look back often, right? We continue to be forward. We continue to set goals. We continue to think of deliverables. We continue to look at our KPIs, our key performance indicators across the board. We continue to set up our team, especially talking to you out there who are leaders, entrepreneurs, own a business. These are all the things we do. But even if you don't own a business, just in life in general, before I owned a business or did any of that, that's just who I am, the nature of who I am. I am a taskmaster. I want to be excellent in everything I do. And I'm constantly challenging myself and pushing myself forward. So if you're a go-getter out there, and that is your nature as well, which I feel most of this community is, we're always looking for what is the next best thing. Now, that is great, but what also is a deterrent, or really can become overwhelm, is if we never sit and look back. If we never find the joys of what was and what became, right? We are human. We are constantly becoming. We are constantly learning. And we need to reflect a little bit and say, hey, I did that, and that was awesome. I did that, and that was really hard, but I made it through, and this is what I learned. If we can continuously have growth in that and pull lessons learned, we are only going to make ourselves better for the goals and for the future thinking as well. And also to be totally present. I love to do visualization and sit and try to really put myself in that place, right? Like, what was I feeling? What was going on? What did I learn? I think I want to challenge you in that. If you haven't reflected on the year, please take some time. And it doesn't have to take a whole day. Even a good 15 minutes of your day can actually be a great change in your mindset and how you're pushing into this year. Now, this is the 4th of the year. And it is not too late to make goals. It is not too late to create new rhythms. So just as we're getting into the end of this first week of the year, I do not want you to think, oh, I missed it. I didn't start on the 1st. That is not the mindset we're going to have. We're not going to have a limiting mindset this year. We're going to look ahead, and we're going to be really gracious on ourselves this year. So that's my challenge to you. So some of the ends that I want to add, well, let's start with some of the outs. Some of the outs that I want to get out this year, that I do not want to bring into this year, that I haven't brought into this year, and that I hope to not continue to bring into this year, is this scarcity mindset, and also this growth comparison. There is something with looking at the other person who is in your field or doing very similar things and being like, why am I not there yet? Or why are they getting that recognition? Or why what did I do to not be able to make those networks or connections? And I feel like that gets in my head a lot. Then that creates kind of the scarcity mindset, that limiting beliefs, that I start to believe that, well, I guess I'm not good enough. I guess we'll never have this figured out. I guess it's just not meant to be. I am putting all that out. We're just going to shelf it and never go to that shelf again. We're going to put it over there. Along with that, I think with that, all that mindset can come defeat, like feeling defeated, and that we have not reached numbers in the business to this date. 2023, like I said, was a really hard year. It was the first year out of 10 years that I've ever had a loss in our company. Like I said, I will share more in the coming months, but it was very, very difficult. And the fact that we're here today, I'm just so grateful. And I had to make a lot of really hard decisions in 2023, but decisions that grew the strength of me as a leader, that grew my tenaciousness and grew my resiliency, but also taught me that, we, as a leader, especially, we have to make those hard decisions to be able to be where we are today. If I wouldn't have made some of the decisions that I did in 2023, we potentially would not have survived it. And so it's really important to trust your gut in that. Sometimes we question our gut, but to trust it more. That's one of my ends, trust my gut more. One of my other outs is having my energy and spirit be defined by the overwhelm of my business. I think we all can relate to this when we have anxiety and we have all these things being thrown at us that can really just drain our energy. And then that energy is brought into our families or brought into our relationships. So that should not be definitive of my energy that is fully encompassing me throughout the day. So learning how to not necessarily compartmentalize, but have a better grounding in my mental, spiritual, physical health will also be able to balance that out. Thinking working endlessly is the answer to growth. So I want that out. Sadly, as much as I don't want to admit this, I am somewhat of a workaholic. I tell everyone to not follow me in the sense of how long I work. I'm like, you guys have work-life balance and I'm going to figure it out on my own. I don't want that. I also want to, practice what I preach. And so thinking that working endlessly is going to solve the problem, I want to think more innovatively this year and have that as an end. And then sacrificing my time as a mother, wife for just one more meeting. I think I've done really well at blocking my family time. And at the same time of blocking the family time, I still have that one more meeting. And I feel like my husband gets the worst end of the stick of that because I'll be present for the kids, be in the family time, do dinner, get them to bed. And then it's like, peace, I have one more meeting. And so I want to do better at not sacrificing time. So we're going to push that out into this year. We're going to try our best not to bring that in. And I am going to challenge myself actually to continue to revisit these ins and outs, at least maybe not once a week, but at least once a month, to revisit the ins and outs. So it's fresh on my mind and I can kind of catch myself and reflect. I want to do more reflective moments throughout the year, not just the whole year, right? But to do it more consistently so that I can see the rhythms that I'm trying to create in my life. So what is Jenny Nuccio? Oh goodness, I'll never speak in third person again. But what am I bringing in to 2024? Prioritizing my health, spiritually, physically, mentally. This is really important for me. I've already started with the physical aspect. I've been so excited. Jumped back into a CrossFit gym. Fun fact, I used to be a CrossFit coach over a decade ago. So my body somewhat remembers it, but jumping back into that, which then gets me up early, which then gives me time to be in the word and feeds me spiritually, which then overflows to my mental health overall because I'm starting the day on a good note. So I'm already feeling that this week and it feels so, so good. So really prioritizing that. I have prioritized my family's health. I prioritize my business health. I prioritize my team's health. It's time to prioritize my health this year. So I am excited about that. Also, along with that, that's like getting checkups and things that I need to do, things that I consistently put off. So prioritizing my health, some practical things. I want to cut my screen time. I really don't have a habit of like doom scrolling and things like that. But I do want to cut my screen time where when I'm on social, it's to be social, it's to connect with you guys. So to have those set times and it's for work. But other than that, to kind of push that aside and be social in real life and be present. My word of the year is presence. And I want to be intentionally present with the people who are right in front of me and in my space. And then as well, be intentionally present in the times that I set for you guys and to be with you. I want to have more adventures with the family. I want to have spontaneity gifting for my husband. My husband loves gifts. And so I want to be a bit more spontaneous for him. He does an amazing job at showing me love and surprising me with things. We're about to go on a surprise 10-year anniversary trip, and I'm really excited about that. So I want to it doesn't have to be big, but I want to be better at doing these little giftings and saying, hey, I see you. So that is an N for me. Which also leads to, I put delighting in my marriage. I think I know we have an amazing and beautiful marriage. We're actually doing marriage counseling right now, which is really fun. Premarital counseling right now for another couple. They're about to get married. And it's just been so awesome to reflect on the last 10 years. And so my husband is a gift to me. And I know not everybody can say that in marriage, it has its difficulties and its ups and downs. And I've been really honored to be his wife and I'm blessed to have such a beautiful relationship, but I don't want to take that for granted, right? So I want to continue to delight in my marriage. And then I want to say more no's and my best, and also my best yeses. So how am I saying more no's? I can do better at that. And how am I saying my best yeses? And I think if I do well with getting those outs, right? That one more meeting or sacrificing my time, those types of things, this is automatically going to happen with saying more no's. And so these are my ins and outs. I want to challenge you this week to make your ins and outs. What is something, what are a couple things that you want to add? And I want you to not overwhelm yourself. Like, I think sometimes when we look at things, we're like, oh, we're going to set really really specific goals, like one book a month or this many chapters or whatever it might be. And for me, when I do stuff like that and I fail at it immediately, I get completely discouraged and I'm like, jump off the railroad. I don't know the saying, railroad track, right? I just get off track really, really quickly. So I want you to, when you guys sit and think of your ins and outs, I want you to think kind of in this emotional space of what's going to make you better and how are you moving into this year that are going to create rhythms that work for you. So let's not look at it as resolutions, but what are rhythms for you? And that's my challenge for you in this Moxie community. We are all ordinary people, but we all have courageous stories that are ready to be heard. And for that courageousness to come out, we need to kind of set some priorities in our life and we need to be intentional and we need to walk with grounded core value decision making, right? And so what are your values you're bringing in? What do you want to prioritize? What do you want to get rid of? This is the time to do it. But I do want to remind you that it's not just today, right? It's not just the beginning of the year. You can change and you have the choice to change any time of the year, any moment of the day. So do not think that if you're listening to this podcast and it's already February and you're listening to this episode that it's too late, because it's not. And so I want to encourage you as you move into this year to figure out rhythms that work for you. And guess what? If they start to not work, it's okay to be like, to throw it out the window, right? And start some new rhythms. So that's my encouragement for you guys. Again, I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm also just so excited to be bringing experts back onto the Moxie podcast. So stay tuned to all of that. If you want to find out more about what we have going on within Amani Collective as a whole, you can visit amanicollective.com. You can also go visit jennynuccio.com. You'll see all the events, you'll see podcasts, you'll see blogs. You can sign up for the newsletter that goes out every Friday. I send a quick story every Friday to encourage you called the Weekly Wild. There are a lot of resources that I have within jennynuccio.com. But the best resource I would say is go over to Instagram, follow me, Jenny Nuccio, and message me. I am the queen of voice notes. I will always respond to you. That is just the nature of who I am. And I want to make sure that I'm available, that you always know that I hear you and I see you. So please reach out. I'm here to support you in any way. I like to think of me being your biggest fan. So seriously, that sounds cheesy, but I'm your biggest fan. I'm your virtual friend, and I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. So thank you for joining us in the beginning of January. So pumped for all that is happening here in the Moxie community. And as always, friends, Moxie on.